not buying because I think prices are going to come off.
Yeah.
I think that is the worst advice at the moment.
Yeah, one of the things that we always talk to people about is that, especially with property, considering it's such a large purchase, and let's be realistic, you only do it a handful of times in your life if you're lucky. But waiting for the perfect set of circumstances, one, I don't think exists, because you've probably got other people.
Welcome to 360 Money Matters, where financial planners Billy and Andrew talk all things financial planning. This podcast aims to increase your knowledge and confidence with all things money. Each week, they will cover topics such as investing, cash flow, budgeting, saving, passive income, debt management, and much more, so you can live a life on your terms without limits.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the 360 Money Matters podcast. I'm Billy and I'm joined by my co-host,
Andrew. Bills, here we are today, back on the podcast, and we've got a special guest here with us today.
Andrew, we do have a special guest, and pleased to introduce to everybody Dimitri Damianos from Buxton in Oakleigh. Dim, thanks for jumping on the podcast with us today.
Thanks, boys. It's been a long time in the works, this one.
Absolutely. Been looking forward to finding out what's going on in the property market, because we're in some interesting times at the moment, and hopefully you can shed some light on what's going on and some of the things that we should think about and be talking to our clients about.
I'm sure that someone's got some sort of joke prepared about, three breaks on a podcast talking about property.
It's so funny because we've been talking about this for such a long time, and then when I was thinking about it driving in this morning, I was like, hang on a second, who's on it? It's Billy, and then we've got, okay, so big Greeks, okay, and then Andrew, okay, we've got just Greeks everywhere, so it's perfect. So no, exciting, boys. Thanks for having me on, and it's been, obviously we've been working together for a little while now, so feel very honoured. It's good.
Thanks a lot for joining us, Dimi. And look, I guess one of the opportune time to have you on, and maybe it's a good thing that we've kind of delayed it, because there's so much to talk about property. I feel like, or we talk about it as our national sport here in Australia, but I think that it's only been more of a topic of discussion given sort of light of budget announcements and what impact that's happening on the property market. So maybe to kick things off, the media is obviously talking about, property prices and whether they're up or down, but being able to talk to someone that's got boots on the ground, talking to buyers, talking to sellers, what's happening on the ground in Melbourne that the data maybe necessarily isn't showing.
And Dim, maybe just before that, just give us a bit of a rundown of you and your real estate journey and how you got into it and everything about you. And let's go for it.
Done. So I've been in real estate now. I've entered my 10th year. So I started off at Buxton Bentley for about 2 years and 3 months under what I call the GOAT, Big Chris Hassel. So I learned so much under him, like so much. Such a Harvey Specter from Suits.
Massive, hence the nice pinstripe.
So such an inspo. So I learned so much under him, and then being obviously Greek background, it made sense naturally for me to progress into Oakleigh. Not just from the Oakleigh area because of being Greek, but it was because I went to school Oakleigh. I was very entrenched in that community. I'm very passionate, obviously, about our culture. And then I did a lot of my business there as well. I know it sounds funny, but at the time I was doing my accountant was there, my hairdresser was there, everything was there. So it made sense naturally. It's sort of flourished ever since. So it's exciting times, and been in there a very long time now. It feels really cool to say 10 years actually. It's been probably the longest job I've ever had in my life. And it's the only job that I know that I'm genuinely, I know people say like, oh, the only job I'm half good at, but I genuinely is the only job I'm good at. I tried everything else. So, fun times. At the moment, yes, for sure. I guess, again, probably the experience of being in it 10 years is I've seen the ups of the market when things are flying, and I've seen it where it is now, where things are taking a little bit longer. Stock is so low. And I think what we're seeing at the moment is I think we'd see more property prices, even less, come off if there was more supply to deal with. But at the moment, buyers are still out there. Traditionally, the auction method at the moment is probably being questioned a bit more. They're not as strong as what they used to be. I think the last couple of weeks in particular, it's hovered around that 50% mark as an auction clearance rate. So owners are probably a little bit more scared, even more so, to go to auction. But so are buyers, because is my finance going to stack up with the valuation hypothetically versus be having that safe zone of subject to finance. So I think at the moment what we would definitely see is that prices would be halted even more, in my opinion, if there was more stock and more supply. But I'm still seeing that there's plenty of demand out there.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And are you finding, I mean, in our market traditionally, we've predominantly been an auction market. So are you still finding from a volume perspective that like a percentage split between auctions and private sales, that's maintained, but the volumes are down? Or are you actually finding that that percentage split is shifted as well too?
Yeah, it's that so the funny thing is, like, normally traditionally maybe more the apartments have been just your private sales. Um, you know, but what I'm starting to see now is vendors, because they're listening to media, talking to friends, etc. So the last couple of houses that I've actually listed in particular, they're private sale with end dates. Now, I try not to use the flashy term of expressions of interest in our area being Oakleigh and surrounds, because I don't think it goes. I try and keep it simple. So private sale with an end date is just nice. Or, and I don't also like the term, personally, I don't really like the term forthcoming auction, because a lot of owners are hearing the word auction and they're like, no, I don't want auction, especially in this time.
Yeah.
So private sale with an end date. And what I love about that is the fact that we are seeing more of it happen, because people are nervous. People are listing and seeing auctions. I don't know, by the time this comes out, the weekend would have passed, but a classic example was tomorrow. I had 2 auctions scheduled. One of them we've already sold prior to auction. And the other one, we've got 2 to 3 bidders registered so far. Both sub-mill properties. So, that sort of 0 to 1 million, let's call it. I feel like there's still some strong buyers there, but not as strong to obviously what it used to be as well. So definitely the percentage split, in my opinion, has split more between probably 50-50 between a property that used to be 100% it's going to auction is now 50% of the chance it's going to be a private sale with an end date, and 50% of a chance it's going to go with the auction.
Are you finding that, there's certain aspects of the market that are impacted more than other aspects, in terms of price range, in terms of the type of properties? Are there properties that are more in demand, especially in the current environment, coming off the back of kind of everything being in demand?
It's such a good question. So apartments have slowed massively. Like, I'm talking 1 to 2 buyers per inspection. Traditionally, they might have 4 to 5. Your properties that are sort of above that, let's call it 1.2 mark, what used to be your first inspection, 10 to 12 groups, is now 5 to 7. And then once you get up to that next level, that next bracket, right, which is your high 1s to 2. So we've got a couple of situations at the moment where owners purchased a couple of years ago for 1.9, 2 million. Now that property has come back substantially now. So we're talking to them about, your price is probably closer to 1.7, 1.75, right? Now, depending on the motivation of some owners will stick it out. I've got other owners at the moment who are like, well, you know what? I'm buying and selling in the same market. So for me, I'm going to take the hit because I know I'm going to get the win on what I buy. So, and for us, it's very important to not come across as financial advisors. And that's where I think the line can get blurred sometimes, because we are not that. We are simply, I guess, here's the facts. This is what your property was worth.
Yep.
This is what the buyers are saying now. Do you want to transact and sell? Do you want to buy? But I think for buyers that are holding off, in my opinion, I think the worst advice out there at the moment is, I'm not buying because I think prices are going to come off.
Yeah.
I think that is the worst advice at the moment.
Yeah, one of the things that we always talk to people about is that, especially with property, considering it's such a large purchase, and let's be realistic, you only do it a handful of times in your life if you're lucky. But waiting for the perfect set of circumstances, one, I don't think exists. because you've probably got other people that are waiting for the perfect set of circumstances as well too. So we always tend to advocate for people that are thinking about purchasing is you do it when you're ready, regardless of the market conditions. And that's kind of the thinking and methodology around the entry point. All the other stuff needs to stack up about the quality of the property and different bits and pieces like that. But from our perspective, we've seen sentiment change ever since the federal budget came here. And I guess the challenge that we're seeing is that the government's sort of saying one thing and we're trying to support first home buyers, and these are all of the measures that we're taking in order to do that. But then on the other hand, you've always got the investor market and looking at it going, okay, negative gearing is now gone. In order for a property to stack up from an investment perspective, not only does the yield need to sit a certain way from a cash flow perspective, but the capital growth expectations have to go up. Are you seeing a similar sort of sentiment and an impact like that? Is that kind of where you were going before, why you reckon the apartment market's dropped off?
I think it's a massive part as well, definitely, because
we're seeing a lot of investors focus their, I guess, nuance now into our commercial department.
Yeah.
Right. Versus the residential side of things. So we're seeing that a lot at the moment. I think investors were starting to, let's say, cool the jets, right? With all the interest rate rises that have been happening over the last couple of years. So they weren't as prominent. But I think once that budget did come out, I asked myself the question, do I want to own an investment in Melbourne right now?
Yeah.
If I had the cash flow. And if I did, what type of investment do I want to lean towards? Well, or in the self-managed super fund, hypothetically, what am I going to look to buy? Well, I'm going to go towards the commercial avenue now. I think there's no real choice about it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because I can't claim the negative gearing and all that.
You can't borrow in an SMSF now.
Exactly.
From the 15th of August onwards. So, yes.
So I think it's narrowed down to now, okay, so residential is becoming now, in my opinion, a live-in property or parents helping their children buy or whatever it might be. So yeah, the investor market, I feel, for residential has just dissipated.
Yep.
Well, I guess, the question within that is, assuming that investors have started to leave the residential space, is there scope and is there opportunity in the, yes, prices have come down and that's now made it more of an opportune time to purchase into the market. Going back to sort of what you were saying earlier and Billy, what we talk to clients about is, if you've got an opportunity to purchase property at a discount, do you wait for more of a discount, or do you take, the opportunity that's in front of you and grab it with both hands and run with it?
I think if you're a investor, I still think that they're holding back from that opportunity, in my opinion. I still think that, again, no matter how good of an opportunity it is, and from what I'm seeing, that is, and I could be wrong in other areas of Melbourne, but from what I'm seeing, I still don't see that I'm going to buy this. It's funny, if I meet someone at an inspection and I'm like, are you looking to buy? Are you looking to rent out? And we ask that question, rent out, and it's like, I'm probably not going to hear a yes here. It's when you do hear a yes, your ears prick up a bit because you're like, oh, you're awesome. Okay, you're looking at this investment. Now it is. Yeah. And I probably myself have probably tried to understand, and I think where a lot of people are also now, what they're doing is they're starting to really find out more about, okay, I'm an investor. I want to borrow, or I want to buy an investment. I want to learn more about the commercial space. I want to learn how that goes. So I think that's the big thing at the moment. Whereas at the moment, yeah, it's very orientated between the first home buyer. I'm upsizing. But most of my principal place of residence. But if you ask me personally, everybody knows, I only want 2 houses. I want one here in Melbourne and I want one in the village in Greece, right? So, yeah, I don't think the budget applies to the one in Greece.
And you're going to sell it in, 150 years because, we don't sell. It's not surprising you still have to spin that quick.
It's so funny. It's so true. But I look at that whole opportunity right now with buying. Right, and we'll probably imagine we'll get into it, but I'm myself and Sophia my fiance, we're probably about 3 to 4 months off, all going well, right? Maybe 5, all going well, on purchasing a place for us for our wedding, next year. And I wish we were ready now, because I'm seeing what's out there. So I just don't see the opportunity. I don't see the understanding, I should say. I don't understand the concept of waiting.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. I mean, in your situation, you're looking at an owner occupier, so I think that makes a lot of sense that you do it when you're ready, and regardless of what the market is, that's your entry point. However, from an investor perspective, completely different. So yeah, we're seeing the same sort of thing when we are talking to people. If it's owner occ, the appetite seems to still be there. If it's an investment, not sure. Let's talk about maybe commercial instead. And then if it's need to discharge an existing property in order to then purchase the next one, it's kind of this, we're stuck in no man's land from that perspective. So look, maybe it's a stupid question. Are you looking in Oakleigh? Like probably from a lifestyle perspective. So let's answer that. But if it wasn't needing to be where you obviously live and work, I mean, is there any opportunities that you like in Melbourne? And obviously this is just entertainment. It's not financial advice. So any of our listeners and our viewers, but where are you guys thinking for your?
Yeah, it's funny. So both of our mums are in Clayton and Oakleigh South, are a couple of streets away from one another. So I mean, I think the stereotypical mummy's boy thing, which I am, is probably not being too far from my mum, but also not being too far from my mother-in-law is really important. For future, obviously, with kids and stuff, that's another thing, but also just not being too far. So realistically, yes, while we would love Oakleigh, it's out of our price point. So we're probably going to be more Clayton South, Clarinda, which I love, that golden nugget, I call it. And for myself, I've always been, I don't like change. All right. I'm very averse. If you ask Sophia, she would be so open-minded, to go, parts of Mordialloc and parts of, those types of Karen, maybe not Karen actually, but definitely, Bond Beach as an example, Noble Park, those types of areas. I'm probably more, my border would probably have to be realistically Mulgrave. And it probably sounds a bit cringe what I'm going to say, but the only reason why I do like Mulgrave is because my grandparents are at the cemetery there, so at least I'll be close to them. So it sounds a bit, thing to say, but it's probably about 10 to 12 minutes from mum and my mother-in-law, but I also don't want to be too far from work. So for us, it's all about South, where we've all both grown up Southeastern Corridor. I grew up in East Bentley majority of my life, and I've seen that whole suburb skyrocket. So we won't go into that suburb, but it's also nice. It is nice changing it up from East Bentley to Clayton, where we've gone recently. I had a property, an apartment in Oakleigh that I sold, that I was living in and then rented out. And then I sold that, and that was great from a lifestyle perspective. I was on Atherton Road. I was walking. I've never walked so much, and for someone that hates walking, I was like a tourist in my own little suburb. So, yeah, somewhere southeast for sure. But definitely, it's all about opportunity for us as well, with where we're seeing how much prices have obviously come back. Your 2-bedroom renovated units that maybe were 750 in those areas have probably come back now to, mid-6 to high 6s. So there's great opportunity there.
Yeah. And maybe betraying your fellow agents or sharing your insights, when you're about to enter the purchasing side of things. What are some of the things that buyers should be and could be considering in buying an opportunity to get a discount? I mean, how do you go through that, negotiation? How do you do it respectfully without obviously annoying the agents to the point where it's, $700,000 properties, you say, and you're offering 500, so it's just a ridiculous offer. Like, what are some of the strategies around that in this current environment?
It's such a good thing. So even myself, sometimes I try and keep it so simple. A majority of my life, I try and keep simple. But even the way that I value property is just as simple as possible. And I think what the great thing is for buyers out there, is that you jump on hypothetically realestate.com.au, put in your filters, put in the sold, and have a look what's sold for what. Now, if you're going to come up to those ones that are semi-comparable to the one that you're looking at, and it says, contact agent as price, which for me, I actually, I don't like when it says contact agent. I much prefer putting the price out there, and whatever it is, right? I know sometimes it can be don't put the price on because the owners don't want it and you want to respect that. But I think for a buyer out there that is looking, part of the process is knowing, am I overpaying for something, or if this is sort of similar. So I would certainly be saying contact that agent and ask the question. Hey, I know you probably can't tell me the exact price. If you can, great. But can you give me a ballpark as to what this sold for? And being respectful about that. Not, hey, mate, I saw you sold that. You haven't showed the price. What is it? Like being respectful is, I think, and being kind is probably more of a chance to get you. The other part is as well is asking the real estate agent, if you're a buyer, hey, off market listings, can you put me on your EDM? Can you let me know when something comes up? I'm ready. I think from an agent's perspective, there's always that confidence when they know that the buyer is pre-approved. So you've gone and jumped through those hoops. I'm doing it at the moment for my sister and her husband. So I'm selling their apartment at the moment, and they're upsizing. They've just got married a month or so ago. Now they're very lucky that I'm very involved in the process for them. Guys, this is what this property sold for that they're looking at. This is where I think you're going to see the value price-wise. They're a bit trickier buyers, those ones. My sister and her husband, they're a bit trickier. They're a bit harder with family. It's so hard with family. Well, we had a property, to be honest with you, which we both loved. I loved it. They loved it. Wasn't about me loving it, but it was about them loving it, and I thought it was great. And we actually, to be honest with you, we actually backed out because I realized that once I ran comps, that they were overpaying by about probably 50,000. So, which I knew that the owner wasn't going to accept. So respectfully, I called the agent to have had it and said, mate, I just want to let you know, I'm not going to send you a text, but the guys aren't going to pursue this anymore based on this, that, and the other. And gave them the reasons as to why. Of course, a typical real estate agent will always try and swing it that way with a positive, and as he should, he's doing his job, or she. Yeah, in the long run, they made the right decision by not overpaying 50,000, because I think in this market you don't have to overpay. But I also think don't put it on the back burner of waiting for the prices are coming off. I'm just going to sit back and wait. And that's really, really important.
Andrew, you hit the nail on the head before talking about property being our national sport. So we always love to talk about our war stories and stuff like that. And I think property is just one of those things that's fascinating. So Dim, maybe over to you in terms of what's something that stands out from a I don't know, a buyer or a seller or what have you, in terms of something that you've seen that's one of those stories that you've got that you can share with us that we'd love to get a smile or a giggle out of.
So in a particular area of Oakleigh, there's a family and they're actually not just one family, they're a few families together. But pretty much every time a property comes up, they somehow end up buying it. And they're almost like their own little pocket. And I met these people by them buying a property off me. And Oakleigh South, sorry. Oakleigh South, not Oakleigh, sorry. And I found it incredible, right? Because they just rock up. And then I've heard other stories through other real estate agents, even competitors, being like, oh, did they buy? They're like, I can't tell you, mate. They don't confidentiality. I'm like, fair enough, respect. And then you see like a property video or something, and it's them buying it again. Like, it's just, it's awesome. It's so funny, and I think it's great, right? Because probably growing up in let's call it a European household, everything's about what you leave for your children, I think. I look at my mum as an example who, she did the whole sell of her house thing to help myself and my sister with weddings and, not just weddings, but, the mortgage, and then, I want to leave something for the kids and all that type of stuff. So I think that European way, and I'm not saying that Caucasian Australians are not like that, but I'm talking about my experience of growing up. It's all about helping the future generations. And I find it scary because if the property market was going to go the way it was going, with rising upon rising upon rising, not only was it going to be hard for me to get in, but my children I haven't had yet, but I mean, you guys got kids, God bless. God, it would have been after that.
Yeah.
So somewhere along the line did have to get drawn, in my opinion. And I'm probably talking more from a point of view of a caring for a non-existent father yet to be, and I can't wait, God bless, till I am. But that's probably where I'm seeing it. That I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. But I love seeing. I probably love seeing, though, the best stories that I love is that they're at, someone's bidding, first home buyers bidding at an auction. Let's say it's up to 750, and it's happened numerous times, and they've just hit their limit of 750, and then dad will start bidding, and they look at dad like, "What are you doing?" Right? And the dad's jumped in to help them. Like, for me, I think that is the stuff that I'm like, I love that. It's not just European, it's all nationalities, right? But I love seeing that in the foreplay. For someone that holds family so close, they're probably the best things that I sort of like. This is why I love this job.
Yeah, we're starting to do more and more of that sort of planning for people with young kids or starting to think about a family, and preempting and saying, okay, in 25 years' time, when your son or daughter is in their mid-20s, it's going to be really difficult to get into the property market. Let's start thinking about that now, and let's start investing some money. So, on their birthday or when they're thinking about it, you can say, here you go, here's a gift from mum and dad, just to try and help you get that leg up. So it's what you're saying definitely resonates, and it's a really big issue that we see moving into the future.
I've got a godchild in Greece, right? And obviously, rather than buying him presents and sending him over because he's in Greece, I send money sort of every birthday, Christmas, Easter, name day, you name it, right? The kid's probably getting about, I don't know, $1,500 a year, right? As an annual salary from his godfather, right? And the idea behind that was with his papu, his grandfather. So who's my mum's first cousin. And he sat me down when I was in Greece and he said, right, I know you're a generous type of bloke. I said, yep. He said, I don't want you sending gifts to my godchild. I said, yeah, okay. Interesting, but cool. He's like, no, this is what we're going to do. We're going to open up a bank here in Greece. So by the time the kid's 18, 21, whatever, the money from his luno, from his godfather, what they call the luno, he's going to have that set of money over there for him so that he can do what he wants with it, with buying a property. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, how good is this? Like, imagine being 18, 21, hypothetically, and you've had that system in place. So we do that now 4 times a year. Right? Is that just we set it up, and then he doesn't know it yet because he doesn't need to worry about it yet. He's only 4, right? Or 3, sorry. But when the time comes for him to go and buy a property that he might like in Athens or wherever it is, he's going to have a healthy deposit to start, and that pretty much is going to go till he's 21. But knowing me, it'll probably go till he's 30. So,
and that's, I think, everything that you're talking about with this is one of the reasons why property is just so different to any other asset class, and why people have such a different decision-making process when it comes to property, because you buy a share, you buy an investment, and people, there's no affinity to it. There's no emotional connection. You're just doing it for an investment purpose. But when you start talking to people about property, there's this emotional attachment to it. And I can imagine you probably see it every day, how emotional it is to be selling and getting rid of a property when someone's, held on for it for so long. And part of the reason why sometimes people, have a particular price is because of that emotional connection that's associated with it as well.
100. The emotional price of an owner, like I'm selling for one at the moment, and their emotional price was probably about $200,000 above the market value, right? And where I'm lucky in some ways, probably when someone says to me, what's the most memorable sale? And I've had this question a few times. I can genuinely say for me, it was selling my own family home, because I put myself in that position of how other owners feel. And that home wasn't just a home for me, mum, and my sister when things went pear-shaped. It was my grandparents' home that they bought in the 70s. So it was multi-generational in a lot of effects. We grew up there. We moved in there when I was 13 or 12 or 13. And then selling that home and relinquishing that safe haven, which had memories all over the place and on the paint and everything. So now when I sit down with owners who are selling, having that emotional connection, like when my own family home settled last year, I was in the driveway because it was being knocked down. I was in the driveway bawling my eyes out, right? So I could resonate with that level with the owners. What I then love is translating that into the buyer and helping them feel that, hey, this house has been in this family for 40 years, whatever it is, right? The bones, the works, please get a building and pest inspection, because a lot of these homes structurally are actually quite steady. They're just cosmetic fix-ups. They are needed sometimes, but we actually encourage them to get building and pest inspections because there's nothing to hide. If I've got a property a lot of the times that's got 6 stumps that are, you can tell that it needs restumping, I'll get the quote done before we even go on the market. So that with my advertising collateral that we've got at the inspections, adjacent to it is a quote for the restumping. Takes away that objection.
It's quite a unique approach. I love it.
It takes away that takes away that objection altogether, because they're going to walk around, they're going to feel that, oh, I need to be a stumps, this, that. Yeah, it does. So here's the quote.
Yeah.
Right. And taking that away, because people hear hypothetically restumping, they think 100,000.
Yeah.
Right. I think at the moment, the guy that I know that I speak to quite a lot with restumping, I think it's about $300 a stump. So depending on how many stumps you need, multiply it and go from there. But it takes away that. So if we're looking at all these facets with a buyer, it's like, well, what's the true intention? Are you buying this to make money off?
Yeah.
It's like when people contact me nowadays and say, I'm looking for a quick flip. Like, I laugh at those questions sometimes, because those markets, we're in a market where the prices are stabilizing or coming off a bit. What makes you think that you can make money so quickly?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's just numerous ways. Respect to the people that can do it, but maybe Victoria right now isn't the place for it. Maybe there's other markets that are better for it.
Well, that's a good conduit into, from everything that we're seeing, where do you think the property market goes from here in Melbourne? I mean, we've obviously got a few headwinds and bits and pieces with cost of living, interest rates, the state government, all of the stuff on top of it. But what do you see, over the next little bit in terms of where the property market goes?
I think stabilization's a big one. I mean, I truly don't believe prices are going to keep on coming off. I genuinely can say that. I'm not just saying it from a real estate point of view. I think that I don't know, I don't believe in have we hit the bottom or not, but I just feel that we're stabilizing there right now. And we're stabilizing again because of the lack of stock. Now, we're heading into springtime. It is, for me, probably the best. It's the grand final, let's just say, of the real estate market. Right. And it truly is the AFL grand final as well. But it's a beautiful time of the year. Spring's always, I think, traditionally been really beautiful to sell in and also to buy in. So I think where I'm probably seeing it going is stabilizing. I think it continues to stabilize. I still think we're going to have that lack of stock. So there's not going to be enough to demotivate that or take it off. But I definitely think that stabilization that's currently occurring. I think as agents, though, myself in particular, and all a few of us, but it's probably getting our head around, well, the pricing difference of not looking at what was 6 months ago. And I know legally right now we can look up to properties. So when we put up our comparable sale as an example, we can look within 2 kilometers and within 6 months of that particular property. Personally, I'm not doing that. I'm going within 2 to 3 months.
6 months ago, it was a different.
So different, right? So I'm looking at the last 2 to 3 months. Like, for me, yes, legally you can include that property as a comparable and look at it, but I feel like that's changed.
The market.
For sure. And I look at some properties that sold 6 months ago and I see a difference in price from when they were bought to where they're at now. So, but again, it's long-term, right? So if those families are buying for a 10-year proposition, they're going to run their cycle of what they're going to be. And I also think that the other important thing is don't not buy because you're waiting to see that the market might come off or that there's not enough stock. So maybe once more stock comes on, you'll find something that you like. That, I think, is one of the worst things as well, in my opinion, because it's like you can never replace that house that you first fell in love with and then you're chasing it. So if you see something and you want to lock it in, but it's going to be a long-term family home proposition, 10 years as an example, 7 to 10, who knows? You don't know if you don't go for it. Or else you play the safe game and just don't buy at all.
And closing it out, let's fast forward 5 years from now. What do you think buyers will think back, in 2031, think back to 2026, and they wish that they knew about the current market?
I think they'll look back honestly and say, like, wow, I think I bought at a great price. I truly believe that. And I think they'll look back and say, I'm glad I bought when I did.
Perfect way to close it.
That's probably what I think realistically. I'm glad I bought when I did, because there's only so much where this can stop. And the investor thing, hopefully it sorts itself out, but we're sure it's great for commercial agents.
No doubt.
Change of governor.
Wow, look, we'll see. There's a few canalists in the work, and we've got the state election later on this year. So hopefully that's the thing that ticks it over. But Dim, wanted to say thank you for today. Really appreciate your time. If people want to reach out to get in contact, if they've got any questions, how do they find you?
Anytime, 0412092944, or Instagram, funnily enough, dim.damianos, but I'm sure we'll collab on this video and do what we need to do for whatever you need. And obviously, right back at the boys, thank you so much for having me on. I actually really, really appreciated the opportunity just to talk shop and talk life and real estate, and hopefully 2031 I'm married with 2 kids.
Dimi, awesome to have you on. Thanks very much. We appreciate you. We appreciate your insights. If anyone does want to reach out, we'll have your details in the show notes, so that'll all be there. So to our viewers and our listeners, thanks very much for tuning in. Hope you got a whole heap of value out of that one. We certainly did. And we look forward to catching you all on the next podcast. Thanks.
Thanks for listening today. If you have any questions on what we talked about or would like to have a chat about your money journey, visit us at 360fs.com.au.
The information in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into account your personal objectives, financial situation, or needs. It is not financial, legal, or tax advice and should not be relied upon as such. You should consider whether the information is appropriate to your circumstances and seek professional advice before acting on any of the information provided. Past performance is not a reliable indicator of future performance. This information is provided by Billy Amaritis and Andrew Nicolaou of 360 Financial Strategists Proprietary Limited, authorised representatives and credit representatives of Acumen Financial Planning Proprietary Limited.